I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, last week Bank of Canada gave us another quarter point, 25 basis point interest rate cut. That's the second one in 2 months. If you're a longtime viewer of my blog, I've been talking about this since late last year, and I got pretty heavy into it into the spring, early spring, saying that interest rates are coming, guys. I follow a number of newsletters, Wall Street Journal, who does a Canadian economy newsletter once every week, David Rosenberg, one of Canada's top economists, who used to be with Morgan Stanley. I'm on his mailing list. The consensus 80-90% since last spring was saying interest rates are coming down. I'm still baffled, and I talked about it last time, how so many people fought me on that this past spring, saying that interest rates weren't coming down. They were going to be staying here for another year or so, or in some cases even going up. I don't know who these people are following. You got to be careful, folks, with some of the stuff you see on Twitter and in the comment sections here. So we had another quarter point drop. Expect lots more to come, guys. This is just the beginning. As a matter of fact, the narrative has changed now. A lot of these top economists have said, Canada waited too long to reduce rates. We should have been reducing back in February or March. I'm in that camp. We're in a recession here in Canada. We just don't want to admit to it yet. The Liberals, of course, the Socialist, Liberal and NDP, it's sleight of hand. That recession is being masked by the mass immigration numbers we put into this country over the last 18 months. Without that, we would be in a fairly deep recession right now. So it's being kind of sleight of hand covered up right now. But expect a lot more interest rate cuts to come, and they've been pushed forward now, as I'm reading this morning and yesterday. They're now calling for probably another 25 basis point cut in September, and then another one in November. They were only calling for one more before the end of the year, and that was going to be in November or December. So they're pushing up another 50 basis point cut, and they're saying there's going to be two more. And then, as I've been saying, expect the bulk of these to come into early 2025. The first 6 months of 2025, I'm hearing we could get another pretty close to 175 basis point drop in the first 6 months of 2025. So my message for anyone that's looking to buy a home, if you're pre-approved right now, you've got the money ready to go, you've got the deposit funds ready, you're pre-approved, I would be getting more aggressive here on your house hunting right now. Now I would say would be the time to start buying. Now the problem is there's just not a lot of inventory out there. I know people will disagree. They'll say, oh, and I see thousands and thousands of condos on the market. Yes, you're right. But when you filter that down to quality homes, it gets a lot slimmer pickings there, especially for good quality one beds in downtown, Mount Pleasant, Kits. Not a lot on offer right now. If you want to go to areas like Brighouse or Capstan in Richmond or even Brentwood, yes, a little more inventory there. But not a lot of inventory, good quality two beds, not a lot out there. There's some, but a lot of the stuff I see right now have got, they're not the highest quality. There is some, but in a lot of cases, they're on busy streets, noisy. Stratas might not be in the best order, probably have levies coming up. And remember, with levies, especially substantial ones, you can't mortgage those. You've got to have those cash in the bank to pay those levies. And that restricts the buyer for some of those units. So I would tell you guys, you should, if you can find the right home, I would try and put an offer on it for the simple reason that you're not dealing with as much competition right now. Although I did just lose out on a one bedroom a couple of days ago, got into a bidding war with 3 other parties. I lost out. I was over asking. So there are still buyers out there for the real high quality stuff, and in some cases there are some multiple offers. But for the most part, especially when you get into the 2-bedroom market, up over $1 million, not a lot of competition there. Chances are you can offer on a good unit below asking price, negotiate a price, put a home inspection in there, do all your due diligence. Now, I don't think that is going to be around. We'll see how this fall moves. I think the more buyers tend to come out in the fall. We tend to get a little more inventory in the fall. But I think by spring 2025, I think it's going to be a different market. I've said this before in other blogs. I think spring 2025 is going to be a very robust market. Sure, we'll probably have a bit more inventory then. I've already got listings planned for next spring already with some of my clients that we're going to put out in March, April, May. But I think interest rates are going to be substantially lower. There's going to be a whole lot more buyers out there that are waiting for more tangible cuts. And there's been a lot of pent-up demand the last 12 to 15 months. You're going to see that hitting in March. So next spring. So, if you can, might not be a bad window to buy now without competition, because next year on the good quality stuff, probably you're going to be getting into bidding wars. Maybe you and 5 or 6 other parties, especially on good quality 1 beds or the lower price 2 beds. And you're probably going to have to go over asking price subject free, which is not a fun market to be in. So you might want to get ahead of it here. A couple other things here. NDP continues to, of course, tweak the Tenancy Act here. It's so, the pendulum is so far over in the tenant's favor now, it's ridiculous. But the latest one that I was forecasting for you guys as well, they have now changed the 2 months notice when you sell a tenanted property, provided that it's on month to month. You sell the home, you in the past you've had to give 2 clear months to the tenant. Well, they've now doubled that. You now need to give 4 clear months. Why? I have no idea, as if 2 clear months wasn't enough. Unless that tenant is very lazy, if they get that notice and they start looking right away, they should be able to find a place. But so just give you an example, if you had an offer on a home, the subjects are removed on June the 4th, and it's tenanted, you have to give that tenant all the rest of June, July, August, September, October. So the earliest that new buyer could move in would be November. From a June 3rd or 4th, November 1st would be the absolute earliest. So almost 5 full months, but you have to give them 4 clear months. So, a lot of people have asked me, is this going to, put a damper on investors and are less people going to be investing in Vancouver real estate? There might be a few, for sure. As you guys know, though, I don't get into selling tenanted properties. And if you do sell a tenanted property, you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table. Go back and watch the 20 other blogs I've done on this. Biggest mistake sellers make is selling a home with a tenant still in there. You're nuts. Because you're leaving out a huge percentage of the buyers, the investors. They don't want to assume your tenant. Rents have skyrocketed, so they can't raise the rent to market rent. There's a new wrinkle now where you sell the home, you do everything right, give them the proper notice. Moving day, possession day comes around and the tenant won't leave. Now the seller is in breach of contract and you're going to get sued for, could be tens of thousands of dollars in damages to the seller. So you're out of your mind to ever try and sell a home with a tenant. You either wait till the tenant leaves and gives you notice, which will eventually come, but the better way is just using a mutual agreement to end tenancy. It's a very simple 1-page form. It can be negotiated. I coach my sellers on how to use it. I can't get involved in the negotiation, but I'll show you how you can negotiate it. And that is a much cleaner way to go. Now we can sell the home vacant. We can sell it to an investor. You don't have to worry about the tenant not leaving. There's no 4 clear months notice after you've had an accepted offer. It's the only way to go. But will it affect some investors that drop out? Maybe a few. But, this is something that I talk about a lot here. I think right now, moving into 2025 and 2026, this might be one of the best windows for investors that I've ever seen for a number of reasons. First reason is, I know I've got tenants watching me, you guys think that the NDP has been helping you over the last 5 or 6 years. With all the restrictions they put on landlords, the war on landlords, the rent freezes, the rent increase caps, this new 4-month notice period. Be honest with yourself, folks, if you're a renter right now. Do what I call that mirror test, or what Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL who wrote that best-selling book, Total Ownership. You've got to take ownership. Be honest with yourself. In the last 5 years, at being a tenant in Vancouver, downtown Vancouver, has your life gotten better or has it gotten worse? And be honest with yourself. I can tell you the answer. It's gotten far, far worse for tenants. So ask yourself, well, with everything that the NDP has been doing here and saying they're going to help me as a tenant, why has my rents gone up 30, 40, 50%? Why can't I find a condo when I am in the market to rent something else? I've got to be lightning quick. I'm in looking at the home within the first day with 6 other parties. Sometimes I have to offer more than what the landlord is asking. Well, the reason for that is because over the last 5 or 6 years, because of the war against landlords, some landlords have dropped off. I've done lots of blogs on this. Many of them have held these properties for 10, 15, 20 years. And it's like, hey, you know what, Owen? My tenant's leaving next month. I've made a lot of money on this unit. I don't trust the NDP. I think it's time to sell, and I'm going to take my marbles and leave the playground and invest elsewhere or put it in the stock market or whatever. And that's what's happened. Landlords have left, which reduces the overall supply of condos for rent. And that is one of the reasons why rents have spiked. If you told me back in 2019, just prior to COVID, I was selling a 1-bedroom condos then for, let's call, $750K. $750K for a 1-bed that would rent for $2,100, $2,200 a month. If you told me just 5 years later that same condo would be at $3,200, $3,300 a month, I would have said you're smoking something. But that's what we're currently at right now. I've got condos now that I'm selling in the $620 to $640, $650 range that'll rent for $2,700, $2,800 a month. So the cap rates have gone ballistic here. Part of that, again, is thanks to the NDP. I owe Ravi Kahlon here a bottle of champagne. He's been great to me, even though I complain about the NDP. They're wonderful for people that own assets like me and own real estate and rental properties, because my rents have gone up beyond my wildest dreams. Because part of it is I've got less competition from other landlords. Many of them have dropped off. And as I've told you, pretty much every condo I've sold, and I sell a lot of condos every year, when it's from an investor who we've gotten the tenant out and I sell it, 90% of the new buyers on those units are end users. I still sell some to investors, but most are end users. So there's another 10, 15 condos that I sell every year that are out of the renter pool, which just puts more upward pressure on the tangible rentals that are available. So for that reason, I'm not selling anything. People always ask me, when are you going to sell any of your rental properties? Well, one of these days I will. But not right now, because I think over the next few years, we're going to be in a golden period, even with all the war against landlords. Because one of the reasons the rents have also gone up is because interest rates have spiked. But you see, the difference now is interest rates now, as just said, are coming down, and they're going to be coming down quicker than people think. So now you're going to have rents which are going to continue to go up. They're not going to come down, I'll tell you right now. They're not going to go up at the same pace they have, that's for sure. But they're still going to increase to inflation every year, and maybe a bit more. And now your borrowing costs are going to plummet. So that's going to put you in that sweet spot there. I also think with lower interest rates on the horizon, it's going to increase the value of these condos as well. So for that reason, I'm not selling anything. I'll let you guys know when I do finally decide to sell 1 or 2 of my investment condos, but it's still a ways away yet, because again, I think we're going to be in a real golden period here. The last unit I had for rent was last November that came up for rent, and I think I did a blog on it. I had, I think, 16 applicants within the first 2 or 3 hours on Craigslist. So it's nuts, and all of them with 800 beacon scores. The quality of the tenants is crazy now. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.